Why were teacher unions started? Which ones are good? Which ones aren't? And what should you do when you see them show up in the break room? Welcome back to Teacher Tales, where we give you the keys to overcoming teacher burnout to find work-life balance and educational bliss if it still exists. I'm your host, Tony Rambles, and on this episode of Teacher Tales, we talk about unions, how they were formed, and what their use is. We use a couple of articles from We Are Teachers and Educator.org. With that being said, start the show. So today we're here to talk about unions. Now, let me be the first to say, I have minimal experience with unions. They will typically come and they'll set up the break room, copy room, and they want people to sign up and they want you to give your money over. And they say, when something happens, you can call us. Fortunately for me, I've never had that something happen. And some people swear by unions. They say they're the best. Get in a union. Make sure you do it. The money's worth it. Some people say unions are awful. They stink. They are not supportive. I don't have a ruling one way or the other. However, I think it is important to be informed. So I did a little bit of research and I want to talk about the history of unions and why they exist, where they've come from, what they've done. And I will have the wonderful Andrew Gittner to talk about being a union member and serving other teachers, in those meetings and that kind of thing on Thursday to really talk about some real life situations where he's served as a union affiliate and fought for people in those meetings with administrators and whoever else, and has gone to hearings in court to really fight for people and serve people, serve teachers, serve our fellow educators in Colorado where he lives. So that's going to be great. But today we are pulling from this article on Hechingerd.org, Hechingered. And it talks about the rise of teacher unions, a look at union impact over the years. The story starts in 1857. The National Education Association is founded in Philadelphia by 43 educators. The new union focused on raising teacher salaries, child labor laws, educating emancipated slaves, that's how far back we're going, and how the forced assimilation of Native Americans affected their education. In 1897, the Chicago Teachers Federation is formed to raise teacher salaries and pensions. At this point, teacher compensation mainly consisted of room and board in the local community. Wow. In 1902, teachers, parents, and students unite in Chicago for the first ever teacher strike, which occurs after a teacher is suspended for refusing to allow a disruptive child back into her classroom. According to journalist Dana Goldstein, the strike helps the newly formed CTF, Chicago Teachers Federation. That makes total sense. In 1902, over 100 years ago, still dealing with the same stuff. Let's continue. In 1906, in New York, the Interborough Association of Women's Teachers fights for equal pay for equal work. During this time, teacher salary is based on position. Secondary school teachers are paid more than elementary grade teachers, and non-minority men are paid more than women. In 1916, the American Federation of Teachers is created in Chicago as several local unions band together. The AFT focuses on salaries and discrimination against female teachers including contracts requiring that they wear skirts of certain lengths, teach Sunday school, and not receive, quote unquote, gentlemen callers more than 3 times a week, according to American Teacher magazine. Wow, 1916 was a different time. The 1920s through the 1940s. Strikes are rare since striking workers were often fired quickly, and laws in some states make government worker strikes illegal. Unions focus on improving pay, improving conditions in school, and increasing federal aid to schools. Yep, look like a lot of the same stuff we're still fighting for. In the 1950s, the NEA affiliates with 18 black teachers associations in states where segregation is still rampant. By 1951, 98% of urban school districts are paying teachers based on professional qualifications rather than on the grade they teach. That's a W. In 1959, Wisconsin becomes the first state to pass a collective bargaining law for public employees. Union membership increases across the country as more states pass similar laws. You don't say. In 1962, the New York City teachers' strike lasts one day, but shuts down more than 25 of the city's public schools. Time magazine labels it the biggest strike by public servants in U.S. history. In 1968, Florida statewide teachers strike. More than 40% of Florida's teachers strike over salaries and funding for classrooms. This is the first statewide strike in the nation. New York teachers strike again. 3 separate walkouts close schools for 36 days. The strike occurs after the newly created school board in Ocean Hills, Brownsville, Brooklyn, dismisses mostly white and Jewish teachers from the majority black district. Didn't see that coming. The UFT demands that the teachers be rehired. The strike ends after the state steps in and the teachers are reinstated. Moving on to the 1970s and 1980s, striking breaks out across the country. Although it is illegal in Minnesota at the time, a 1970 strike by Minneapolis teachers over low salaries prompts the state to enact the Minnesota Public Employees Labor Relations Act, which protects teachers' ability to strike. Strikes also take place in Philadelphia, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Chicago over pay, medical benefits, and contract demands. The same issues were involved, same picketing, same closing of schools. All of that is identical to the issues in the recent Chicago strike, said John P. Hancock Jr., a lawyer in Detroit, shout out, who represented school boards in 2 Michigan strikes during this time. And he also states, this is really awful. Moving on to the 1990s and 2000s, laws restricting collective bargaining rights and the differences in contracts and salaries between districts have greatly diversified the role of unions in each state. Unions have taken stronger positions in political campaigns to support like-minded candidates. They have also been vocal about changes to teacher evaluations, an increased number of charter schools, and the introduction of merit pay, and still have the power to impact education reform rollouts in some of America's largest cities. That, my friend, is a walk down memory lane of teacher unions and what they've done throughout our history. Jumping forward to present day with the TEA takeover in Houston, Texas, the unions are still, I would say, fighting the good fight, trying to make sure everyone's voice is heard. And it's illegal to strike in Texas, but the main thing that we want is a seat at the table. I've also heard from our friends north of the border that they have some labor relations going on right now with some tension with getting salaries and benefits and trying to make sure that teachers are well compensated, not just with the money, but holistically for the things that they're fighting for as well. So if you want to talk to more people about that, then you can definitely check out the Teacher Triumphs Facebook group, where we overcome burnout together. Now, before this is over, I do have a list, and this is from weareteachers.com, the most powerful teacher unions in the United States of America. Now, there are some affiliates in states. Some states have multiple unions, and honestly, I'm just not quite sure how all of that works. But I'm going to list it by state. And I'm going to start with number 10, Florida. Number 9, Michigan. Number 8, Massachusetts. Number 7, New York. Number 6, Pennsylvania. 5, Ohio. 4, Illinois. 3, Washington, D.C. 2, Washington State. And number 1, the strongest union in the United States of America, for teachers anyway, California. So if you're looking for a state with a wonderful union that has power, that fights for its teachers, you can choose one of those states. I would do the worst unions, but I don't think that's going to get me any friends. So that is our episode for today. When you see those union reps on campus, in the break room, in the copy room, talk to them. Get some information. Ask them what they do. Because even if the union is not good, quote unquote, leaving is not going to help. Maybe, just maybe, you could be a part of the union and make it better. That's a thought. And if you're not joining the union for one reason or another, we respect that decision too. For more teacher tips on burnout and time management, join our Facebook group, Teacher Triumphs Overcoming Burnout. This is where we share applicable strategies and encourage each other on the journey through education. Until next time, keep teaching, keep learning, and I will see you all on the next journey.